Welcome to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. The Pharmacy Leaders Podcast is a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, with interviews and advice on building your professional network, brand, and a purposeful second income from students, residents, and innovative professionals.
Welcome to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast. I'm Tony Guerra, and today I'm here with Kaycie Rathburn at APhA 2018. She is a P2 from the University of Houston, President-elect of her APhA-ASP Chapter, and we're going to talk with her a little bit about her leadership road. So a lot of people, especially for residencies, or a lot of students are looking for those kind of leadership positions. Can you tell us a little bit about before pharmacy school and as you've gone into pharmacy school, how you've gotten the formal leadership positions?
Hi, yes, thanks for having me on today. I was involved just all growing up, and then I was a little involved during undergrad. I went to a very small school that I always had to be very involved. So when I went to college, I chose U of H so that I could go to a larger school where I didn't have to be as involved. And then I really enjoyed it and took a little break from, big leadership positions. But then when I went to pharmacy school, I was ready to get back into it. I actually started in another organization that I thought I wanted to be the president of eventually in pharmacy school. And then I saw APhA-ASP and all the cool events they were doing the entire year. So I kind of jumped shipped and went with them and ran for it, and I got it. And so that's been a fun year.
Okay, so what are your duties here at APhA? So you take us from when you landed to what you did Friday, then Saturday, then Sunday, for maybe somebody that would like to go to Seattle next year, but doesn't know what APhA is like, what kind of value they would get out of it. You're an officer, so obviously you have some duties, but what are you and your classmates doing here at APhA? So let's start with the first day you got here.
So first day we got here, I landed mid-morning, came over, and one of my duties was to check everyone into our hotel, so I did that. And then we went and had a fun lunch, a local hot fried chicken for Nashville. And then we came back to the conference center and went to opening ceremonies, which was really cool. And they had a really cool speaker last night, and they handed out awards to different chapters, and we got to learn a lot of good ideas of what other chapters were doing based on their highlights. And then today, this morning, we went to the expo, which was really cool, and you get a lot of free stuff, so as a student, that's always helpful. And then, what else did we do? Went to lunch, did some sightseeing. Tomorrow will be a more busy day where we have more House of Delegates sessions and elections and more award ceremonies. But overall, it's a great experience of just networking. You constantly run into different people, different pharmacists. You can go look at research and get inspired to do your own research or see what people are up to in different states. It's just really cool.
Okay, so we keep hearing that word networking. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about what that means to you. So tell me first what networking means academically in terms of other people that are doing the kinds of things you want to do.
So networking for me has really opened up with APhA-ASP. I get to meet all different kinds of people, and I think it's really helpful to just be able to see the different types of pharmacy. I mean, it's endless of what career paths pharmacists can take, and also just students, because you never know who you'll run into, who might be your boss one day, who you could be your coworker, and so just getting to know the different people that are part of the same organization as you, and then also maybe who they can introduce you to someone that they know that can, show you something new that you might not know. For me, networking just means experiencing new things and just continually learning about different parts of pharmacy.
Okay, well now tell me about networking with maybe some of the professors or some of the speakers. What kinds of things were you gravitating towards?
So right now, I had to go see one of my professors and his research.
You didn't have to go see him.
So I went to see him, and then from there, I just kind of looked through. I felt like the best way to network with professors was to kind of look at their research and see what they were doing there. And
Yeah. Well, what kind of research were you looking at? What specifically, so you go into the poster session, there's 2 hours to go through hundreds of posters. What types of posters or what clinical aspects of pharmacy do you gravitate towards?
So right now I'm working with our PHOPS department to look
What's
in.
that acronym?
It's outcomes,
Okay.
pharmacy outcomes.
Okay.
But we're looking at naloxone in Texas and how pharmacists are willing to educate and dispense it. So I was really looking for more research about that to see what they were doing in other states and see where maybe our research overlaps.
Okay, so tell me now, so you're at the national meeting, but this all started way back in Houston. So tell me, what are the specific things that your APhA chapter does? I know that each APhA chapter has its own kind of personality, and they have their own kind of initiatives. First, what initiatives are there? And then as president, what initiatives are you looking forward to?
So we have the top 5 operations or initiatives: diabetes, heart, GenRx, OTC, and op immunization. And then we also have, what am I missing? Sorry.
It's okay. 5's enough for now.
Okay. And then, so that's what we have. That's what we focus on. And it's all year we've just kind of been doing different events. Our Op Diabetes won for our region, so that's been our biggest operation this year. And then for next year, we're going to include a new operation called Operation Self-Care that kind of talks about how students can take care of themselves while going through the stresses of pharmacy school, and then also how we can help our patients with more like psych-related things rather than the big disease states that you always hear about.
Well, tell me a little more about that. In ASHP, I saw Purdue did one, and I think I saw one from Creighton, but I've seen self-care, kind of something that we're really focusing on a lot more, focusing on how a pharmacy student that's less stressed, there's going to be stress always, is going to be obviously a better student, but also more impactful. So can you tell me the story of kind of how did the self-care thing come around? Because that's something that's outside the box.
Yeah, so I have a lot of friends at UMKC Pharmacy School, and I'm close with the chapter president there, and she told me, or I saw on her Facebook actually, that she had this Operation Self-Care. So I reached out to her, another thing about networking, and I kind of asked her, hey, what are you doing with this in your chapter? And she just gave me more of the background about it. And so I talked to our chapter advisors and asked if we could bring it over to our chapter and start it for this year. And we have lots of cool events planned. Our school just got a new school counselor, so we're working with her to get, weekly de-stress events at our school, and then just more education about different psych things, and it's really in its beginning stages, but those are our plans of right now. Oh, and we're doing a suicide prevention walk coming up in April, so that should be a cool experience.
Well, how do you organize something like that? You make it sound like we just all show up and we walk, and it is a huge endeavor. I've put together a 5K, and that was big enough. But tell me, how do you kind of rally the troops? How do you? A lot of people maybe don't join organizations because they're too worried that it's going to take too much time. How do you make time to do something like that that's big?
So we worked directly with our wellness department at U of H, and kind of the wellness director already had an idea of wanting to do this walk, and we told him we could provide education booths with Op Self-Care and GenRx. And so we moved from there. So thankfully we had a little bit of help with him. But I think just balancing organization work and your schoolwork is mostly just about staying organized, making sure that you're keeping up with the calendar. I use Google Calendars like crazy, and just making sure that you're scheduling everything that you have so that you can, and also scheduling your study work, and so that you can stay on top of everything and just prioritizing your days.
Okay. So can you go through the big 5 for someone that maybe is thinking about pharmacy and those 5 initiatives, the GenRx, and kind of go through those for someone that maybe isn't involved in APhA?
Yeah, so for APhA, we have, I'll do how we present them at our school. The biggest one we have is APhA Diabetes, which obviously has all about prevention and maintenance of diabetes. Our chairs are rock stars. All of our chairs are rock stars, but our diabetes chairs are super rock stars with all of the...
You can shout out to them if you want to give them their names.
Yes. So I'll have, for my incoming senior chairs, we have Amilda and Catherine and Olivia, and they do a really great job of just creating new events and, as far as like doing things of the sugar and the amount of drinks. The amount of sugar in your drinks and presenting that. I know that's always a big hit at health fairs, and just different education depending on who they're trying to target, whether it's kids or adults. For heart, it's about cardiovascular disease a lot and just having a healthy heart. For that one, we do a lot of desk exercising for corporate meetings, which is really cool.
Desk exercising?
Yeah. So
tell me more about that. I don't know what that means.
So they have like a series of desk exercises, and they use them for our faculty. They're very gracious to let us into their meetings. And it's a lot of like sitting in your chair and doing leg lifts or arm lifts. And
that's cool.
Yeah. And just stay moving even when you're having to sit for long periods of time, because any exercise is helpful. For OTC, we focus a lot on kids, and we do candy versus medicine. I know that's everyone's favorite game, and I think it trips everyone up. And so that one's really fun if you're interested in over-the-counter medications. And for GenRx, it's all about, addiction and prevention. So that one is really cool too, because APhA has a specific conference just to go for that one. And at our school, we actually get to have 2 convocations, which are like meetings that all the students have to attend, that our GenRx chairs get to participate in and kind of teach student pharmacists about, addiction. One is about addiction in pharmacy for, if you happen to experience that, and then also dealing with patients that are in recovery or might not have made it there yet. And then IPSF, that's the one I was discussing earlier. International Pharmacists Federation,
APhA in other countries.
Yeah, something. I'm horrible with acronyms. There's so many in pharmacy. But they do a broad range of things. So they do mission trips, and ours also do HIV and different campaigns of like smoking cessation and stuff like that. So it's kind of a broader one, and I know their motto is think globally, act locally, and that's what ours does. So.
Okay, well, a lot of times when students are first thinking leadership, they're thinking, okay, I've got to have this on my resume to do a residency, but it seems like you're just actually finding a lot of joy in it, and that doing things with APhA, the candy versus medicine, those are just fun things to do. Tell me a little bit about what you're thinking about for P3 year, and then if you can go as far as thinking P4 year and beyond.
So for P3 year, I'll be the president of our chapter. I'm hoping to just continue doing as many events as possible and also expanding our operations even larger. Of course, the main goal as a president is always to win chapter of the year. So
no pressure.
So just helping with that. And then also it's really rewarding to kind of see your chapter grow and how you can help your officers get there, and then also develop your own leadership skills. So those are my goals for P3 year that are non-school, I guess. And then into P4 year, I'm thinking maybe get involved in APhA nationally and maybe running for a national position, because I think that would be cool. And then, of course, doing my rotations, which everyone looks forward to. And beyond that, I think I would be interested in an admin residency or something like that, but we'll see.
My wife did the APhA rotation in D.C., and this was awesome, so that's definitely something. Well, let's first start with any shout-outs to anyone that you didn't mention that you do want to mention.
I think, let's see, our current chapter president, Hannah, she's been a great mentor for me for this entire year, and just encouraging me to even become the president-elect and helping answer all my questions throughout the year, and I'm sure all of the ones I'll have next year. And the previous past president, Katrina, she was very inspirational for me getting involved in APhA. So there's my other shout-out.
Okay. And then I've asked you a lot of questions. Anything you want to say that I didn't ask you about?
I think I forgot to touch on during networking the importance of how networking can make an impact through APhA is our school supplies drive. I don't know if you saw the video, but it was after Hurricane Harvey. We did that was one of my biggest projects I worked on with APhA-ASP this year, and we did a giant school supplies drive, and just because of my networking with different students, it went viral. So it was seen by over 20,000 APhA members, and we were able to raise $40,000 for school supplies for Houston schools and then schools on the coast in Texas, like in Rockport areas. And so we were able to provide school supplies for over 5,000 students, which was really cool. And it was also a very impactful moment, I think, for all of us. And I've been spending half my time just going around thanking people that I haven't seen that donated, or actually meeting them in person, of people that reached out to us. But that's kind of what I think APhA is about, is just a giant family that is there for you and can help you in ways even that you wouldn't expect.
Kaycie Rathburn, thanks for being on the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast.
Thank you.
Support for this episode comes from the audiobook Memorizing Pharmacology, a relaxed approach. With over 9,000 sales in the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, it's the go-to resource to ease the pharmacology challenge. Available on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon.com, in print, ebook, and audiobook. Thank you for listening to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. Be sure to share the show with the hashtag #PharmacyLeaders.